All righty. Welcome again, everyone. Today is Saturday, not Sunday. Yeah, Sunday is Mother's Day. There's no way that I will be able to fit the live stream tomorrow. So that's why I told you guys last week that I was going to be changing it to a Saturday rather than just deleting it or not doing it. That's going to also happen at the end of the month. I have a function that I need to attend on Sunday, and so I will do it again on the previous day, which will be Saturday. So that should solve all the possibilities of me canceling out, which I really don't want to do. I really hate to do that. Let me go ahead and get this all set up here. I don't know if you guys have been enjoying Print Prism 170. 180 is coming. Okay, he told me that last night. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what that brings to the table. So remember, 180 is a 10 number jump from 170. So that should mean it's an improvement in output. Well, again, you know what I feel like doing is to just don't create anything, because every time he does a 10-point increase, it's an output improvement. And that means that if there is a visible difference between the previous profile rendering of an image, you really have to redo it to gain that little extra, whatever he has concocted. The guy just doesn't sleep, apparently. And remember, I told you guys he has shingles. he's in pain. And so he says this is really good therapy for him. We're talking about Mike Cheney, the creator of QMH Ultimate and now Print Prism, DDIsoftware.com. All right, let's say hello to everybody here. We have 15 people. My wife says, if you get 5 today, are you going to continue? I said, of course I am. Even if I had 1, that's just the way I am. I'm not going to ignore a single person that comes on here. That is a couple of hours of your time that you're devoting to me, um, talking about stuff we love to talk about, basically. So let's say quickly howdy to everyone here. HZ from the Netherlands. Is a beautiful spring weather. Yeah, our friend just recently went there, but it wasn't quite the time where all of the flowers would be blossoming, especially the tulips. And I think she did some sort of tour, tour ship, a cruise ship, some sort of cruise ship. I used to live in Belgium. I had to drive to Holland to pick up my car at the port, Rotterdam, yeah. And I'm pronouncing that horribly, I know, but then we went to visit a couple of times. It was just absolutely awesome. I loved it there. Anyway, so he's using Print Prism 170 profiles. Yeah. And he says they are truly better than before. I had some subtle tones that didn't print as could be, and my enthusiasm for Print Prism was diminished. So now, are you satisfied now? This is important. He needs to know this. He's doing all the technical long hair. I wish I had some, analysis and that type of thing. But I'm sure he's also printing images and analyzing those as well. But I want to hear, and so does he, from you actual users, what you are experiencing between these upgrades. If it starts going downhill, then he needs to fix that, obviously. So if not, then we're good to go. However, reprofile with Print Prism 2026 170, those subtle colors printed satisfactorily again. So I am back to being a happy PP customer. A lot of people are not going to be absolutely picky. The way I look at it is, let me unplug this a second. This little instrument right here is $1,500. Print Prism, what was it initially? $35. And you need to buy it now because it's going to go up. Okay. I think now it's up to, I think it's all of $40 or $49, something like that. So make sure you get it. He really made a mistake by charging so little initially for it. But anyway, now he's paying the price, so he has to raise it a tiny bit just to make sure that all the time and effort that he puts into it is paying back. But anyway, make sure you get it now, please. Do so. You'll kick yourself later if you don't. So, all right. Henry Stoffel, Medford, Massachusetts, Epson P800, OEM Inks. He's got Print Prism 170, Epson V392 scanner, and of course, QMH Ultimate. That is the most recent one, I hope. I don't even pay attention anymore. I just upgrade as they come. I don't even look at the numbers anymore. Richard Bender, Hagerstown joins in QMH Ultimate PP 170. And he told me that he may release it today, but I never got the notice. So I assume he's still testing. He was testing last night and he let me know personally. Nikon D300 HDR photography, preparing for this year's photo competitions. You got some up your way, and then of course when we have the county fair, I'm going to definitely check that out. Photo Nikon 780, greetings from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Cumich Ultimate, Print Prism, of course. Everyone's using it. Canon Pro 1100, Epson EcoTank 8550 XP, 15,000 paper plus River, Canson, Ilford, and Staples. We're going to be doing a Staples. Let me grab it. Where did I put it at? This is what I use to print the cast photographs of our drama club, my wife's old school where she worked for 30 years. So they've been doing drama. They're one of the very few elementary schools that have a drama club. Wonderful teachers that run this, I'm telling you. And I've been volunteering for the last, I don't know, 25 years to create something that they can sell and generate funds with so that they can pay the license that these like Disney and other corporations they charge for the right to you charge money as attendance, in other words. So if you're going to charge $3 to come in and watch a play, you have to buy the license. So I'm able to generate, I think we sold out last night. I could not believe it. I made I think it was 45 prints and they all sold. So I have enough here, I think, and I got a couple more back there that I can use just in case I need to reprint some more. But they came out beautiful, beautiful pictures. I think may have shown you guys last week. But anyway, we're going to use this paper. I created a profile, PP 170. I might have to redo this for the Pro 200. And the Pro 200 is running with Precision Colors Signature Edition inks. So we'll do that today. I already printed it. So it's there, it's dried already. We're going to go ahead and scan it on the EcoTank 8550 scanner and then produce a profile. And then I have several sheets of it in the printer loaded. So we'll go ahead and proceed with printing some images. And it's going to be on matte. So this is going to be a really good test for the Signature Edition inks and the Pro 200. And those of you who want to use Signature Edition inks, what you have to do is you have to buy prepped cartridges. Okay. We'll get into that in a minute. But the gentleman who prepares those and sells them on his eBay store is here today. And Rick Johnson will prepare a set of basically identical CLI 8s or CLI 42s, but with Pro 200 chips. I think he may have a couple left. I'm not sure. But if not, and you're running a Pro 100, he's the man to go to. Buy your Pro 100 CLI 42s or CLI 8s with 42 chips. Remember, they have to have the correct chip. Those can be reset. The ones for the Pro 200, you have to perform the disabling of the chip. And the ones that I have are fully disabled. All I got to do is top them off, continue to top them off with PCSE inks for it. And so far, it has proven to be really, really good. I mean, I'm shocked, especially on matte paper. Matte paper is not very friendly with dye ink printers, especially not like this one. This one has matte black ink that gets triggered. And there's some other little tricks that you can perform to even enhance it more. So we'll do that a little bit later. It's already printed. It's right here. And it came out beautiful. That's going to be sent to the scanner, and we'll proceed to create that profile. Now let's continue on here saying howdy to all of our visitors. We're up to 17. Maybe we'll hit 20. Who knows? That'll be pretty good. Captain Dauncey is here from cool and sunny Richmond. Today is 65, mostly cloudy. Not bad. Beautiful day. At least I don't have to run the air or the heat, so save me a few dollars. Okay, so he's got a Pro 100 with all the trimmings, Sony A77, 65, A350, Coney Omega Rapid, 2 1/4, 3 and 2 3/4 film camera. That is pretty neat. That is pretty neat. That takes me back. Welcome. Deanna Hadley, lacrosse. I know who that is. Now I'm confused because you have, yeah, you. That's it's really Harold signing in with his sister's account. So Harold Goldberg, my buddy, who will be here. Oh gosh, when? Like in 10 days, almost. Lacrosse, Wisconsin, 8550 PCSC inks. You also got a Pro 1100, which is nothing to sneeze at. Print Prism, still cloudy, highs in the 50s. I'm looking forward to warmer weather in your part of the country. Yeah, but you can never, you know, don't put your money down on our weather. It changes. We say wait 5 minutes, it'll change. Um, yeah, we cannot wait for you to get here. Um, Again, I signed in my sister's account. Apologies. No problem. Okay, it's me again. All right, so I need to tell you something personally here in front of everybody. It's fine. The day that you begin your tour, you're going to go to the museum, the Smithsonian Natural History. Nathan's field day is that day, and I haven't missed one since he was in preschool. So I am going to have to pass at least for the morning, and I will meet you guys down there on the metro. I will take metro with me. And if he gets off at noon, which I suspect he might, I don't know quite yet. I asked him, would he like to come with me downtown to the museum and meet you guys? He says, well, I have to see how tired I am. Yeah, basically the eighth graders, and he's about to graduate in 2 weeks. The eighth graders simply they sort of take care of the little kids, so they're not really participating in all of the activities. They're sort of being counseling the little ones, and so hopefully he'll have some energy left and his parents will allow him to come with me. We'll pick up a couple of metro tickets at the station, which is just a mile and a half from me, and we'll meet you guys downtown at the museum. Hopefully we'll get there, at least enjoy the afternoon with you guys. And then I want to take you on a short tour around that general area. There's a lot of monuments to look at and photograph, of course. All righty. Mike Cheney, only here for 15 minutes. PP 180 was delayed due to my son's passing out at work. Oh, shoot. When you said passing out, I thought, no. Okay. Passing out at work and hitting his head. Paramedics checked him out. He's okay, but I have to keep an eye on him. So maybe 188 tomorrow. It's fine. We can wait. We can definitely wait. You cannot. Okay. Take care of your boy. All right. Thank you for being here, my friend. Gosh, this guy's amazing. HC 7984. And what does that mean? I'm terrible at these little acronyms. I know. I know. Okay. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. Oh, for the Pro 9000. That's an old um, Canon printer. Yeah, I have a 95. Did I get rid of my 90? I think I did. It was basically okay. It needed a print head, but you cannot find them. So I, reluctantly got rid of it. Is over there waiting. A good day for me to schedule a pickup. Yeah, all the best with that. Please see my thanks above. Take it easy for those releases. Yeah, it's fine. You don't have to. Don't even do any print prism work today. That's an order. Okay. Take care of your boy. Kevin Berniarski, Ellsworth, Wisconsin. He is here with us today. Very good. Welcome. All right. So I gave my link to a parent of one of Nathan's buds after school yesterday. He texted me in the morning that says, Grandpa, I get off at noon today. I said, okay, fine. So I told my wife, and she said, oh, I'll come along with you. We picked him up, and then he wanted to go to some place called Brew Belly. Basically, it's like a sports bar. They sell 150 different beers and hot dogs. They specialize on the Nathan brand of hot dogs. Can you believe it? So of course that's what we ate, and he was with his best friend from actually from his class as well as the drama club, their drama club. Um, and I don't even know where he is here. Let me see if I can find him. This is the class picture that I made, and I printed it on metallic paper. And it came out beautiful, even though it's people. You're not supposed to use people for metallic paper printing. But here's Nathan right here. And let me see if I can find him. I think they put the big boys in the back and the girls up front. He is quite an actor. There he is right here. So doesn't matter. I just wanted to point that out. So his father and I had a very good conversation. We had lunch together, and guess what he's into? Photography. So, oh boy, did that start, and my wife is like, yeah. So I gave him a link to my channel and a link for today's live stream. And hopefully he's maybe here, but if you're here, Zach, join the chat and show us or tell us who you are, of course, and tell everybody. We're all friends here. Okay, so something new is happening here when and this is good because it keeps me from neglecting somebody's comment. Once I click on a comment, for instance, like right here, and then I unclick it, it becomes grayed out, almost not grayed out completely, but lighter than it used to be. And if I miss one, it would be shown as bright. So that's actually a good update to this StreamYard. All right. So as I said, we profiled that Staples paper, and this sells for like it's under $30 for 50 sheets. It's really, really good. I mean, I thought it was good enough for me to print those photos of the cast, the drama cast of my wife's school for sale. And I think we sold out last night. It's amazing. So let's prep this. And I really should write on it. I want to prove to everyone that you can actually write on the top margin. In other words, ID it. And I'm going to use the big marker just for fun. So this is Staples. Well, first of all, Pro 200. PC SE, Staples, and Photo Supreme Matte. Photo Supreme Sub Matte. And this will be with a PP 170. So pop it in. And this is so good. Now I can use the edge of the actual scanner top to align the edge of the print. So that makes it a lot easier for me, let's just say, to get the alignment perfectly done. So let's open up Print Prism. And if I have to redo it again, big deal. I'll just rescan it. Say if he releases it tomorrow, I'll go ahead and pre-scan it again, assuming there's some output quality improvements. So yeah, I just saw what I was just describing. So Harold Davies just posted something now, and it's bright. So let's go ahead and I avoided printing kits on metallic papers, but then Richard Bender recommended it, and I have been happy with results. Even 3 to 4 year olds turned out, yeah. So that's what I have. And the luster is better than the glossy as far as the the look is a little bit more subdued. So if you're going to do glossy, make sure you're shooting pictures of a fighter jet or something. Yeah, that type of thing, or beautiful race cars, or that type of subject matter. Industry, the power plant next to Lake Michigan, where my wife was raised, um, South Milwaukee area. Yeah. So let's see. Let me go ahead and share this in case you want to look at me as I'm doing this. So I am going to have to write down the information. So it's PP 170 still. So this will be the Pro 200 Staples Premium. So Photo Premium. No, Photo Supreme, not Premium. Let's get the name correct here. Photo Supreme, and matte. So let me make sure I spell that correct. And we're good to go. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Just scan it now. You just type in the name and scan. If you typed in something that already existed, whether you did it in an earlier version and you just haven't updated it, it will catch it for you and it will ask you, do you want me to override this? And you say yes or no. It depends, whatever you wish. You might want to compare, say, a current, like if he puts out the new one tomorrow, that one compared to an earlier version from, say, the very beginning, and see what kind of output differences you get. You should be able to see a visual difference. So if you've never seen this done, it's scanning right now. It says pass to cooling 8 seconds. What does that mean? Well, you can actually pick right here in this area here how much cooling time you assign to each pass. So after each scanning pass, whether it's one single pass, so I can stop it and reassign a different number. I'm doing the maximum, which is 5 scans, which will then the information gather will be stacked. It's like doing HDR basically. Different exposures, images are stacked, and then it becomes one, and the image has that huge dynamic range. So in this case, you're scanning 5 times. Maybe each scan is slightly capturing slightly different nuances of that chart. Remember, the pictures are tiny. The pictures, the little patches are tiny. So it pays to do multiple passes. It takes a little bit longer. I let it cool for 30 seconds. That's I'm just experimenting with that. It could be less. It doesn't matter. But cooling down really apparently helps the next pass. Okay. You normally don't do this when you're scanning photographs. You scan and then you get the results and then you go edit that or whatever. You're not scanning over and over and over and over. So this is why he's adding this function of cooling between passes. So we are on pass number 4. Cooling, that is. So 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, and so on. And if you look at me, that little light right there should start flashing when there you go. Now it's going to flash. That means it's physically performing scan number 4. Okay. Once that is done, it will do another cool down and proceed. Now, if I was doing, now you will have over 9,000 patches here. If I was doing a triple sheet regular target for my spectral, it would be like 1,600 patches. And that's 3 sheets, multiple rows. They're rather large, and it would take me quite a while. I have an example here somewhere that shows exactly what those prints look like. and it gives you an idea. And you have to be really careful unless you have a device like what I have that allows you to slide that spectrophotometer accurately, and that way you don't miss or maybe stray over to the next row of patches or so on. Here we go. So this is only 400 patches. Okay. The one that I showed you earlier, in fact, I can show it to you now because it's done. Actually, not, why not just look at the image itself? So you can see how small these little patches are. And so I am going to check the corners just because I'm picky. And everything has a detector or a selector in the center of each patch. That means that it's going to select not the outer edges, but the central portion of each patch as it was scanned 5 times and scanned and stacked on top of each other, is determining whether that particular patch was reproduced properly. Of course, it's not. So that error rate, whichever way the error goes, color, density, whatever, it's going to remember that. 9,000 little errors are being corrected as we are speaking right now. You see that blue bar? It is doing that as we speak. The profile is being created automatically. Amazing. So let me make sure that I have paper on my Pro 200. And I definitely do. So one thing that I will do just because is I'm going to load two different standard images. We'll just make like a 5x7 of each one on a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper, this kind of paper right here. So once that is done, I'll go ahead and close Print Prism. But I mean, you saw. So that Mike told me, and this is for you, Richard. Let me we can leave this. You don't have to look at this finishing up. It's just going to end, and that's it. Richard, Mike told me last night that he's really taking into consideration some suggestions you made, and that's being incorporated. I believe that's what he meant. I could go get my phone and look at the actual message that I got last night, but so something that you suggested, and he's taking it seriously. So hopefully that is what's being added. Okay. Now, you said flowers. Yes, flowers look amazing on metallic paper. In fact, I think over here I did one of the first ones that we did was indeed flowers. Let me see if I still have it here. I'm constantly moving stuff, but no, I must have moved it. But yeah, flowers. It's like all of a sudden, for example, real quick, this is yours, but look at the way it looks on aluminum. And I got my heat presses on. We're gonna be doing a little gift for a friend who comes from Central America, and I created by AI. I tried several times, but this is the best that I could come up with. And is this, and we're gonna be doing a transfer, just a tropical beach transfer onto aluminum. Look at how dull that looks. Wait till you see what it looks like. In case you haven't seen this in the past, it's quite a shock the way that is enhanced. And I actually did a profile. If you don't believe me, have a look at this. That has finished. So I'm going to go ahead and close it and give you a quick look-see at how to do a print person profile. If you are sublimating Oh my lord! And you buy, say, your aluminum from one source on Amazon or eBay, and you happen to like it. You happen to like the look. You happen to like the evenness of the surface. The gloss is absolutely perfect. Then you stick to it. Um, Thicker material, it'll cost you a fortune. Really, that's only if you're selling and you're charging enough money. So take that. Yeah, P-51 Mustang flying over Arizona years. Yeah, that would work. That would definitely work, my friend. Mm. Anyway, okay. I showed this to Mike Cheney, and he just it blew his mind that I could do this, that I could get away with doing this. You then scan this. That's it. Scan it, and when the new version 180 comes out, I'm going to rescan this. Um, the only issue is that this will set you back a buck a sheet, something like that. And so, do I want to reprint it? In other words, I would have to print another transfer sheet, and then you apply. You print a transfer sheet with no color management, zero or off in Q image, and of course reversed and presentation paper matte. And then you take that and you cook it on your press. You're going to get this. Then you scan this and then create that profile. From that point onward, whenever you want to print to then create on that same type of aluminum media that you bought, then you're going to use that profile rather than off. So presentation paper matte. And then for me is my what is it called? The XP 4200 and 400. At that point, I was using a 400 patch profile. Now I'm going to be using a 9,000 patch plus profile. Who's going to be more accurate? This one, of course. So the results that we get, they're mind blowing. I mean, this is crazy. That's an AI recreation of an Alaskan glacier. Okay, with a sunset, no less. This is the shore of a little village with kayaks. Look at those AI generated. And there's that little glacier back there being stubborn. It doesn't want to fall into the ocean yet. This is another AI, basically a Victorian painting. So this is created as a painting. Richard knows all about that. Um, and then I would print this not on aluminum. I just wanted to test this. You would print it on canvas, of course. Oh, let me put these back, and then we'll proceed to come up with an image that we can then use for printing with that new profile. But since this is waiting for me here anxiously, I'm going to go ahead and prep this. I need to make a little bit of room here. We're going to be talking about printing with OEM ink at the lowest possible cost. We mentioned that last week, but I'm going to go into eBay and look for stuff that you can buy that then you can extract ink from and use that ink for your refilling your Pro 1000 or your Pro 1100. Um, are there really good third party 1100 inks out there? We don't know yet. I need to know if anyone out there is refilling. Let me know what you think, and that way I can make some sort of statement. At this point, I have no idea what kind of quality we're dealing with out there. Now, this one is still a little bit. It was okay. Now it's displayed as something that I already showed. Um, I'm getting used to that. It's like a hey, you didn't click on this one, and then someone will say, "Hey, you ignored my comment." No, I never do that. I'm not like the other people. They get hundreds of comments. They cannot possibly, you know, address every single comment people make. We just have a handful of people, loyal people, and that's what I would rather deal with than thousands of people commenting, and they're commenting to each other anyway. So most of the time. So we have to align this. The image that I printed, even though this is supposed to be, the claim is 8 by 12 inches. Is it really? Or is it more of a near 8 by 12 in a metric way? In other words, millimeters instead of inches. So I got to make sure that, take my glasses off to make sure I got this aligned properly. Yep. We're going to put some tape on the corners. I give myself a bit of room. So I'm doing the measurements actually 8.1 by 12.1. So that is a custom size that I set and I printed on paper that I prepped from 13 by 19 sublimation paper. So, but I end up with 8.5 by 13 sheets. And that works perfectly. So I get two per large sheet of paper. I had to get rid of my 4200. It was just basically after many years of service, and I converted it to sublimation. It had been used for many other purposes before it finally decided to die on me. Not die, but it wasn't, I couldn't get it clean. So that's it. At some point, maybe if we can accumulate funds, I would love to buy an 8550 and set that baby for sublimation only. That would be cool. That would be super cool. Okay, so this is now, I think it's perfectly aligned. This is what you do. That way, during the pressing or the transferring um, process, you don't move. You don't want nothing to move. Otherwise, you're going to get a ghosting effect. So many people use or set it down with the aluminum facing the platen. I'm going to do this. The aluminum is going to face my pad. I have a heat-proof pad underneath here. I have a Teflon sheet, which is what all people who sublimate use, and that should work really nice. And I'm going to increase the pressure a little bit. There you go. So 350 degrees, 80 seconds. The transfer to the polyester was a total failure. I would have to literally create a profile for it, and I would do it with the larger patches. There's no way that I can do on cloth tiny little patches. No, that would not work at all. So, and I was using the settings that I sort of ended up after much experimentation for the aluminum. That does not work with the material. So if I ever went back to try to sublimate to t-shirts or something similar, I would have to totally change my settings. In other words, everything was coming out really dark. We'll see how that comes out. If it comes out beautiful, then it'll be worthy of a present to my friends. So they're leaving the area after 9 years being here. Um, and I think they're moving to the Carolinas somewhere, but she is from Nicaragua. So her husband is German American. Um, I think they have family in the Carolinas, so they're going to be moving there. They're probably going to retire, I think is what it is. But to me, I mean, something unusual like this, who's going to give you one of these? I don't know too many people. So they know me for what I do. And so I'm sure they're expecting something similar as a going away present. I did tell them that I was going to give them something. So, okay, that is hot, hot, hot. This is what I mean. Look at the outline. This is the bleed passing through onto the paper. So you want to make sure that always, always orient it so that your aluminum will not come into contact with it, or you'll have to replace it. This is parchment paper. So the next one, I'm going to just flip it down like this. And then after a couple more attempts, you just toss it out and begin again. Okay, so it's getting cooler. The best thing is to put it on something that is naturally cool to begin with so that the heat dissipates quickly. And I like to, some people just rip it right out. I like to do a very um, control unveiling, even to me. I first look at the transfer sheet to make sure there aren't any blotches. A blotch would mean that there was a difference in transfer or a difference in the sublimation process, meaning the solid ink on the print did not vaporize, become a gas in an even way. And so you're going to end up with a very uneven transfer. Sometimes if you have a tiny little piece of just dirt or something, it will cause a little hill, and that little space doesn't sublimate. So not only will you end up, instead of having just a spot, you end up with a much bigger, like a little volcano. So I look at this. This is perfect. I don't see any kind of little areas here that show there may have been dirt. I see the edges. The edges, of course, don't sublimate as much onto the paper. Paper is not a sublimatable material, so it has to be polyester. So the majority of the ink passed on to the sheet of aluminum. So this can now go into recycling. By the way, I use A sub paper. This is really the best paper you can get for sublimation. There are many others. I've tried many of them, and some of them are just garbage, and some of them are okay. But A sub makes both inkjet papers as well as sublimation papers. So they're a very reliable company. Now, this material, you can get it with round corners or the square corners. So let me go ahead and turn this light on so we can examine it. And there it is. So I think this will be cool. So if my wife, approves it, I will definitely give him that. Or else I can do another one of my more brighter sunset shots that I have showing a tropical type environment. But again, I just don't have photographs that I can actually use. So I just AI create this stuff in Photoshop. That'll work. Now the back will receive a piece of MDF. Now you can use Masonite. I don't know which is denser. We were talking to Harold. I was talking with Harold earlier this week about just that subject, about mounting prints on Masonite. I used to always say that, yeah, I can take a piece of Masonite, very carefully cut, and then blacken the edges. The easiest way to, with a fat marker, just blacken the edges and then go over with a rag with a little bit of varnish on the edges, make it glossy. And then with some spray, attach a print. I would make it slightly larger like 16th of an inch larger, and then get it all centered with a little bit of bleed, and then with a sharp scalpel, just clean the edges off. Okay, that works. But here's the thing, and something that I've experienced in the past. What kind of hanging bracket are you going to use? Well, I've tried many things, many different things. I have had prints on my stairs right there that I have hanging on the stair wall fall right down. And so the I'm using, I don't even know where I had them. They're back there someplace. Some double sticky tape type hanging hardware. It works, but it needs a really smooth surface and something that basically does not absorb moisture. Masonite and MDF absorbs moisture. This stuff right here. This will be good for smaller prints, but you know what happens? It curls, it will warp. It absorbs moisture, and of course, this surface may be attached to the metal print that is now sealed. No moisture is getting in there, but in the back, there is moisture. And so that surface begins to expand and it will curl this way. And it looks terrible. Some of my prints right now have that issue. So you would have to use some sort of synthetic type material. And I don't even know what I would choose. I would not even know what exists out there. I would have to talk to an art conservator who is doing this, has a studio, um, and see what they use, because you would have to have absolute control over your humidity, which none of us do. Um, and yeah, and especially if you're making gigantic prints like this, uh, geez, you would need like half-inch thick board. That can get costly, and you got to pass that on to your customers who may or may not like that. I don't know. It depends. So Harold and I were talking about that. So something synthetic, something that does not absorb moisture, would be probably the best thing to use. So, oh, and here is Harold right now. Terrific dye subs. Do you find prim- prism metal profile to be linear and neutral as you did? Yeah, I certainly did. The one that I did was basically scanned with the spectrophotometer, and that solved the issue. Then I did that one that I just showed you and just scanned it, and I didn't replace the other one. I still have my 400 patch profile. I would love to do a test between the two and just see what happens. Um, but remember that I think I'm the only goofball that wants linearity when it comes to metal sublimation work. Most people out there don't do that. They just use let the printer control color, presentation paper matte. That's it, and then transfer that, and you get oomph. You get increase in saturation, more contrast, just huge amount of pop. Okay, my early prints show that. My new prints, they look like they were printed on paper but on metal, so they don't have that look. And if I show that to someone might say, someone who's familiar with everyone else's sublimation work, not using an ICC profile, will say, "Oh, I've seen better." Yeah, you may end up getting that type of remark from people who just don't really realize that. To me, natural looking output is what my goal is, not enhanced. That's what I was just going crazy over thinking. Um, what do they mean when they claimed that the 1100 produced enhanced results? What are you talking about? Are you talking about, okay, to me, an enhanced result is I load an image and I know that my monitor is displaying it correctly, accurately, and I enhance it. Okay, see what I mean? To me, a printer that auto enhances means that it looks natural to me on my monitor, but when I print it, it looks enhanced, slightly oversaturated, more contrast, more pop, that kind of look. And that's not what it looks like on my monitor. I can just say, oh, it's just the material. It automatically enhances. Well, I got to come up with a way to prevent that from happening. That's my goal. Maybe I'm just absolutely wrong. You guys may agree, disagree, but this is just the way I see it. Okay, so until I did that, create a profile for sublimation, yeah, I was getting enhanced. I was getting what everyone would expect to get from sublimation into aluminum. Sure, I suppose, yeah, but you would have to do both sides before you mount it, I think. I don't know. You would have to literally dip it. I mean, how are you going to absolutely seal it? Yeah. And then you give it to someone in Arizona where your friends live, air conditioning 24/7. Things are drier than my home here. And yeah, you're going to get, it might work in their environment. Then you take it to Nicaragua in a beach house with one board thick walls. And yeah, it's going to work. So yeah, I think the only way to provide a customer with a guaranteed non-warpable mount would be in some sort of artificial synthetic material that is like a board, but that might be costly. I don't know, and I wouldn't know what to. Yeah, I've done that. I've done that, and it helps a little bit, but it's still. In fact, depending on the type of spray that you use, I would just spray both sides, let them dry, and make sure that during that drying process, nothing. So if I take one of those little boards, take one of these here, a little bit bigger one, and spray the front, spray the back. Now notice you got a glossy, shiny side, and then the back is a little bit duller. So it's almost like this side is a little bit more porous than this side. I would spray evenly both sides somehow. And look at the shipping. When they shipped it, they created a dent right there. There's a little piece. This is just layers of material, actually. So there is a layer right there that's coming. Look at. See? Coming off. So this would be a no-go. I would throw it out. In fact, I'll do that now. And spray both sides. Dry them in a relatively clean space. It's stinky, so Miss Janine cannot tolerate it. She's got the sensors like a hound dog. She can sense everything. And so, yeah. So you would have to do it. In my case, I have to do it outside, which means dust can land on it. Yeah. So a lot of work. Um, but yeah, I can do that. And while it is here, under my environmental conditions, it's fine. Now I give it to someone else, and it may not be the same. It may not last as long without slightly curving or whatever. Clear coat, it'll be more resistant to warping. Yeah. So, oh, sure, with a clear coat, but what kind? There's water based, there's also lacquer based, there's also polyurethane based, many different types. Um, And would it be matte? Would it be glossy? I don't want to add some kind of look to the back of it. So maybe a semi gloss, as long as it's evenly applied, it will be absorbed. Yeah, it'll work. It'll work, and it will restrain any kind of warping that could possibly take place. Yeah. So Harold, I hope we can probably discuss that while we're hanging together, having lunch or something. Um, I had a plan where we could just on the second day after we do downtown DC, we end up. I'm going to take the metro back home. If I take Nathan with me, I'm going to come straight home. If not, I can just we can drive to your hotel. You'll just have to drop me off at a metro station afterwards, and we can chat all you wish, all you want, really. And it'll be awesome. That's what I love doing. When I meet up with Richard, it is just a chatter fest, and we're constantly passing ideas to each other and so forth. Um, but yeah, really looking forward to this. So yeah, I think yeah, ponder more about it and see what you can come up with and do some sampling. Remember that it's not that you're mounting a piece of paper on it. In your case, it's a piece of paper who's going to be susceptible to moisture. So in your condition, it might be very unlikely to warp. When you apply a print of aluminum, yeah, that seals that side completely. Moisture is not getting in. Moisture will attack the back of that piece of MDF or masonite. Masonite usually has a rough surface and then a shiny, glossy surface. And which one do you glue to? I would glue to the glossy surface, and then I would spray the back, or do that prior to using it. But I think MDF looks a little bit more professional. But anything you can do to seal it, and that way it'll remain steady. In other words, um, otherwise, gosh, you have to like the guy that I was following when I was learning how to sublimate years ago. He had custom made aluminum. It's like some sort of extruded material that you can put together. It comes already with miter joints, and you just have they have a slot. You just put two corners together, attach a little thingy there, and you tighten the screw, and it locks that in place. But it costs a fortune, and you attach that directly to the metal, which is like a 16th of an inch thick material, even thicker. Too much money. um, Impossible to really afford just for you to play with. It's just really super expensive, but it's the best there is. So yeah, that way, he never had any issues with warping, except he was using like industrial double sticky tape, and one of them actually fell off from his display wall in his little. He rented a space at an industrial park, and yeah, it fell and it hit. Of course, it hits the corner on the cement floor and completely destroyed it. So even him was having issues with prints falling off, prints the adhesive failing, and that sort of thing. All right, let's go ahead and print that. So let's open up QImage, and I'm going to use a real photograph here. I was looking at my picture folder, and I said, oh my gosh, this has got a lot of really good pictures here. Let me go ahead and let this load a little bit here. I have everything here is backed up in my pictures folder. Let me take this one off. Let's set up that Pro 200 for the proper printing of this. So we're going to use, and one thing that I want you guys to realize when you have a Pro 200, when you use the matte photo paper, it's going to demand a pre and post border. You have to disable that. And I had to do a little bit of searching to find where to do that right here. And then you go to the print options, and here, cancel the safety margin regulation for paper size, because it wants you to use matte paper on the manual feed, apparently. And I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what, but I couldn't print it until I did that, until I changed that. So let's take a look at any one of these here. Let's see what we have. Oh, I did a little bit of cooking, Puerto Rican cooking here, and I did a step-by-step photographic process to give to my niece in Wisconsin because she loves my beans. The beans of my mom and dad taught me how to make the easy way on a microwave, not having to do the overnight soaking of dry beans and all of that jazz. Let me just continue scrolling down here. I have too much stuff here. Good Lord. And of course, all of these have not even been um, really edited in any way. So that might be a good thing. Okay, so here we have a shot of Gettysburg. Now let me go ahead and set this properly. So I am going to make sure that I have the new profile we picked or we created. Not let the printer manage color, of course not. We're going to browse. I'm going to just click on the magnifying glass. And I know there's other ways to search, but something I just created will be right here. Boom. So now that is done, I'm going to just simply add a bit of a border. So that's the second tab right here. 1/4 inch is good enough. Of course, I want a bit of a stroke. So 3 always gives me a good one, and the color will be black. So I will apply this to it, and I'm going to not crop it. Oh, that's a panoramic shot. Maybe not. Let's see what else I have. What is this one here? Okay. So that's kind of, very bland. I don't know. I think I shot that in Florida, my sister's backyard. We're not going to use that. And these are just a bunch of phone pictures. So no, forget it. I'm going to go ahead and look at in my desktop. We're going to do some of my AI images, or maybe we'll look at these here. I did this one for my son. He loves these rubber ducks. He puts some on his dashboard. Okay, so this is a real photograph. We'll use this one. And it is panoramic, but whatever. I'll go ahead and print it. So let me look at the current condition. We'll do a little bit of editing on it. So that's what it looks like without any edits. I'm just going to do the automatic exposure thing, where it will do 0.5 above and 0.5 below black. 0.5 above black and 0.5 below white, I should say. And I'll sharpen it a little bit. And I'll just enhance it. And again, when you enhance, you don't want the printer to do it. You want yourself to do it. This is something you want to do. You want to add an enhancement. You don't want your printer to enhance it for you. Then you have to make adjustments. Then you have to oh, it looks like this in my monitor, but I know the printer is going to do this to it. No, that's not what you want. You want to do your own enhancement. So when I see it, enhanced already on my monitor, I know that's how my printer is going to reproduce it. Now, I'm looking at that and I'm deciding, is that this looks pretty dark in the foreground. This is, I think the sun just set, and this is the last remaining bit of daylight. So, do I really want it that dark? Well, yes, maybe, or I'll just brighten it a little bit. And again, these are all global adjustments. It's not like working in Photoshop where you do dodging and burning in and all of that. I think you can do that here as well, but it's a little bit more complicated. It's not as traditional as it would be in Lightroom or in Photoshop. Okay, that's good enough. So we'll go ahead and say okay. And of course, you should always go back and double check. But I'll just show you what you have to do just to get a match. Calibrate your screen. Make sure that it is linearly calibrated. Not too light, not too dark. What happens when the screen is too bright? You're going to decrease the brightness, edit it down. The same thing happens when the screen is too dark. You're going to edit it up. And that's going to send an image to your printer that is incorrect. If your screen is too bright, your image is going to end up being too dark. Why? Because you darkened it. And then you wonder, why is my printer producing a dark print that doesn't match my monitor? Well, because your monitor is not displaying it correctly. It's displaying it too bright. All right, so that is it. We'll go back and double check, as we always do. Pro 200 Photo Supreme Staples PP 170. We just made that today, and we'll just print it. Oh, gee, is the driver set correctly? Of course it is. It does that automatically for you. So the driver will not be double profiling. The driver's color management is set to off. Okay. So now only Q images is using that profile I created. My driver cannot use that profile. There's a way to do it in a Canon printer, but normally no. You let your application control color. And in anything else, you would have to, of course, manually go into the driver settings and turn off or basically disable color management. That way, both of them are not attempting to adjust color. Imagine if the driver was also attempting to control color, it would be using, what paper am I using? Matte photo paper. It would be using that native profile as well as the one I just generated. The results would be awful. Okay. And literally they look awful. Okay. That's what I experienced back in 2002 or 3 when I was reading somewhere about profiling, and you got to use profiles. So I'm thinking, what are you talking about? There's no way. I couldn't tell what they were talking about because no one knew and no one was really explaining what the heck profiling was. If you do this, you have to do this. And if you don't do this, you have to do that. And it was like, and yeah. And I consider myself as sort of a techie back then as well. But, I still didn't know what I was doing. And I was double profiling big time because I was forgetting. I was printing using auto sRGB mode. And yeah, a red looked red, a green looked green, a yellow looked yellow. That was enough. We didn't have any worries about tonalities or anything like that. Just as long as it sort of looks like a photograph, we were satisfied. Which of course I hated because I had full control in the darkroom, even for color photography. Even though with darkroom color printing, you didn't know until the print emerged from the processor. Oh, I hope you had a processor available because normally you would have to do it on trays and temperature controls and all of that. Richard Bender, he's here in the 70s, I believe. He's told me he developed an ink set, a formulation that ran against Kodak. This is for film, which had to be, correct me if I'm wrong, but a quarter of a degree accuracy and strictly that temperature. Well, and then you develop, all your steps had to be specific lengths of time. There was no adjustment. It had to be that time and that temperature within a quarter degree. His chemical process allowed you to use whatever the room temperature was and just change the times. You had a chart that you look for, and oh, instead of being 68 degrees Fahrenheit, it's 75. Oh, then you adjust the time to this. Well, Kodak did not like that. And yeah, someday he can tell us about that. He told me about that during lunch. And I was like, holy mackerel, dude, amazing. So let me check, make sure. By the way, let me show you what this looks like, guys. Look at this. This is what a disabled set of chips looks like. Nothing. You see that? Nothing at all. So all of those chips are disabled. That's the way my Pro 1000 also looks. All right, let me go to look. And lo and behold, yeah, it's a match. It is a match. And you're I don't know whether you can, my camera is not going to reproduce it the way I see it here visually. There you go. So this is what I mean, folks. Why would you spend half an hour editing something when you then have to make an adjustment, or oh, I know, an adjustment layer in Photoshop, and then you compensate for what the printer is going to do to that image you spend half an hour editing? Ridiculous. Did I tell you about that? Oh, yeah. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But that used to be a practice that all of these learned, um, back when inkjet printing was, in fact, around the time when Lightroom was created. I don't know whether they're still around. I know I actually said the name of the person in a video that I uploaded just recently. He recommended creating an adjustment layer and increasing your exposure and sliding literally 25% more. He took all the tonalities that were correct to begin with and slide them over 25% to the right of the histogram. What happened to my whites or my near whites? They fell off the cliff, the white cliff. Imagine if you had to do it the opposite way. All my shadow detail would have fallen off the black cliff. You don't do that. You look at your histogram, you make sure, like Richard Bender creates one of those HDR photos and he looks at his histogram, everything is within the margins of that cliff on the left and the cliff to nowhere on the right. Everything is inside. If it's just about to fall off, at least it's not falling off yet. It is inside. And if that prints dark, it's because his monitor is too bright. And he manually somehow, oh, I know that histogram says it's perfect, but my monitor is making it look too bright. So I'm going to darken it. You just darken your image. It's going to print dark. Simple as that. And I have no hair left. Okay, I have some stubble here, but I must have pulled the last bit of hair I had because I was reading this guy's ideas that he was publishing on YouTube and websites. And it was like, are you freaking kidding me? Do you know how ridiculous that idea sounds? Oh, this orange is going to print reddish. Okay. So I am going to edit it so that the orange looks yellowish. That way it will print orange. No, I want it to print the way my monitor displays it. Think about that. Think about that for a minute. How would you how could you possibly oh my stove it says 350 and I'm making some cookies, but it's really 400 and I'm burning my cookies are constantly burning at the time that I'm supposed to bake them. Even though I'm going to put it to 350, I'm going to then lower it to 325. No, get that thing calibrated. Of course, that's difficult, but that's the point I'm trying to make. Don't add some sort of adjustment, post adjustment, when you should have had it correctly to begin with. If your monitor is too bright, you're always going to darken your images. If you work in a super bright environment, you're going to crank up the brightness of your monitor. That's going to automatically create dark prints. It's simple. I was lucky enough to visit a professional editing studio back in the early days of video. Digital had not arrived yet, but they had LCD screens, so I have to give them that. But they were still working with regular. Yeah, it was digital, but it wasn't what we know today as digital. They work in such dark environments. I could barely walk without tripping on stuff. And these people were working. They were converting European format to US, the British. It was for the CBC, whatever. Anyway, the British BBC, and they were all those shows from England. They were being converted to the other standard. I forget what that video standards are, but anyway, and so they work in a dark environment. Otherwise, everything they would edit and make it, dark simply. So since they were in a dark environment, you notice my okay. Let's see. Let me open right here. You don't see any detail back there. I don't see any detail here on my monitor. My little diodes are not emitting any light. If I crank the brightness, that I would have detail there. If I was to print this, if this was an image and I printed it, I want it to look like that. I keep looking. I want it to look like that. I don't want it to have detail because there's no detail here. Okay, there is no detail here. There shouldn't be any detail in the print. If there is detail here, it should show up. So the only way to achieve that is for this to be displaying whatever the camera is generating or whatever my print over here looks like. It has to be displayed accurately. This is as good a match as I have ever seen. It's unreal. Good Lord. Mikey, you did a great job with this one, buddy. And whoever said earlier that they really liked, yeah, so let me back up. Now be aware this is my crappy monitor that is not really super accurate. And I've tried to calibrate it, but it really doesn't calibrate very well. Let me look at my own. Yeah. Oh my God, perfect. So there you go. And this is using that profile I just generated a few minutes ago. Crazy, right? So if I was to print this, sublimate this, I've done it in the past. I've shown you the actual sublimated. Let me see. Hang on. I had an example. No, I don't have it here. I had an example of the same image, and I've shown you guys this in the past. It was the same image done on paper with a custom profile, and this is before Print Prism. And then one done on the aluminum sublimatable material with a custom profile, and they both matched. The aluminum wasn't over enhanced. The aluminum print, although glossy and shiny, matched the paper print. And that's, for me, that's a goal that I can be very proud of achieving. And it took a lot of work, but I finally got to that point. Oh, I got Richard Bender to comment on that. Yeah. I don't know whether that should be made public or not. RT color chemistry was used at whatever the temperature was at the time. Yeah. And even with like early onward, D76, Dectol developer for paper, I didn't worry about temperature. And I had a chart. In other words, if my house ambient temperature was 75 degrees, that's what my developer would be. And so I would adjust the developing time. So whatever was the standard for 68, say 12 minutes. And if you over agitate, you're going to increase the developing process anyway. So your agitation was a standard you had to adhere to, and so forth. But anyway, yeah, uh, whatever the temperature was, I could basically figure out the total developing time would have been. Harold Davies says, Richard Bender, I was a young inorganic chemistry lifetime ago. It would have been very interesting to hear what you did to allow RT processing. Ah, man, wouldn't it be ridiculously amazing if Richard could join us while you're here just for maybe an hour or two? Uh, but we're going to be so busy. I don't think that's going to be possible. Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. That would be amazing. Anyway, let's continue on here. We have about half an hour more to go. So I don't want to keep you guys here too long. Let's look at eBay and see. And I'll show you. Let me go ahead and I got to minimize this Q image so that it can continue doing the job of printing half a sheet. Let me show you what that looks like. So this is a Q image on clog tool. So I have it set for every day to print this on my Pro 1000, my Pro 1. Okay. That way it begins to print. It doesn't do anything pre-print wise. It just starts printing. And if you just wait a couple days, it's going to do a cleaning cycle. That cleaning cycle will use more ink than you will use to create the print. So if I'm not going to print, I still have to waste some ink. There's no way around that. Okay. So you cannot just let it sit. You may think, oh, it'll average out. No, it does not. It is really, really bad when you wait a week or so. So this is one of the features in Q image. So simply put, I said that scheduling, it takes care of that for me. And that way, when I do have something to print in the Pro 1000, it begins to print like that. Yeah, I remember C22. I thought it was like a quarter degree. I know our processing machines, they had a water bath around the tanks, and we very, very carefully made sure that that was always a quarter degree up or down. So that's, I guess that's a half a degree. So, all right, let's take a peek at eBay. And this is what I'm talking about. I'm showing you guys this in the past. This is how you buy your inks for the Pro 1000 or the Pro 1. So this will go, I think I paid, this is Chrome Optimizer. I found this, what a bargain, $99, I think, and free shipping. 700 ml. So let's do a little bit of math. So if I use a sensor on my tank, it's going to be triggered when it's at 20% from empty. And 20% from empty is around 20 ml. Sorry. Full is 80 ml, and 20% from empty is like 20 something, whatever. Anyway, so I only have to add 60. So divide 60 into 700. That's how many refills you are getting out of one of these. So this $99 one, let's see how many refills that is. I gotta do that. I have to stop guessing and actually figuring out what it actually is. So 99, let's call it $100. So I am going to divide that by 700 ml. Oh, sorry, my bad. Clear that. So 100, and then is that the, oh, I pressed this instead. This is what we want. So divide by 700, and we get 14 cents plus all those decimals per ml. Okay, so let's just call it 15. 15 times, what do we need? 60. $9. That would be $9. I should have used a decimal. So $9 per refill. Now let's do 700 divided by 60. Well, I can't even use a calculator, I swear. So 700 divide by 60. You get 11 and a half refills. That's not bad. You see what I'm saying? So here's what we do. So you're going to search for Canon printers that use the same formulation as your Pro 1000. So that would be Canon, say 2100. Okay. And there's all kinds of Canon 2100s, but we want ink. So there's some bulk ink you can get. How good is it? I cannot tell you. These are all refillable, not refillable, but compatible. And here is an OEM one. So this is matte black. Normally it sells for $300 retail. This is photo gray. The last one, yeah. Here's another one, a magenta. That's a bit much. No, I would not pay that kind of money for that. This is new Canon. Oh my God, Canon PFI 1700. That's what you need. Chrome Optimizer, $54.99. Good Lord. That's absolutely a fantastic buy. There's smaller ones. I would stay away from the smaller ones because you want to get as much bang for the money. For instance, this is not worth it. So, but just search, and search. Here is Chinese ink. Yeah, no, I would not do that. You need the 1700 series. So, for instance, here is another model. So no, you stay away from those. 1700. This is good. PFI 1700 compatible. Forget it. Now you could conceivably just say, okay, the important colors are yellow, magenta, cyan, blue, and red. And then your neutral grays, you could conceivably go with third party, maybe. It depends. It depends on how good the inks are, how well accurately color balanced they are. And then you get a profile. You make a profile. But the idea is to, get the best bang for the money and still be able to use OEM. Now let's check to see if we can find some inks for the 1100. So I'm going to search for Canon Pro 20, what is it, 2600 or the 2600? Yeah, 2600. That's that's the new printer that uses the same formulation as the 1100. So, and I would say original inks. No, that's the wrong number, silly boy. 2600. Okay, so compatible. Oh, wait a minute. I'm not even on eBay. I need to go back to eBay. So I'm going to copy that. And let's see what they're asking for. Not bad. For the ProGraph 2600, this is yellow. Oh, that would be good right there. But this is only 330 ml. So yeah, you're not going to find the same deals for like 700 ml cartridges like you do for the older style. Now, this is not bad. 700 ml, but that's a 3700 DR, so I don't know what that is. Anyway, it takes a bit of patience, a lot of searching, and make sure that you know what code the actual cartridges for the 2600 in that particular size are. That way you don't buy the wrong product. And then what you do is once you receive everything, look how expensive that is. Once you receive everything, you just simply do this. I have lots of these bottles. I have 12 of them. And I take my full cartridge. In this case, this is magenta. And I drill a hole here. This handle, all of this container is nothing but a container. So it is continuous through the handle. And if I flip it upside down, I get ink here. This fills with ink. So there are two ports. One for this one here is for ink to come out. And then these two are alignments. And then this is a venting plug. There is a tube that runs through the central portion of the cartridge body with little holes all the way around it. So it's like a little pipe made out of plastic. And as air goes in and goes into that tube and sort of aerates it, it's like a fish tank aerator. So except not as efficient. So it agitates the ink because this cartridge is sitting there without moving. So it has to be able to agitate, if you want to use that term. So as ink leaves, air comes in and it creates bubbles and it agitates the ink. That's how it's able to maintain it. But the pigment particles are pretty much neutrally buoyant, so they don't settle down that much. In fact, hardly at all. So minimal aeration is all you need to have now. So here I have two empty cartridges. Both of them have pre-drill holes and plugs. Well, I bought these. They cost me $225 each. Not the Cormal Tomaso. That one here I got on sale. But these two, yeah, $225 each. So my refills cost me about $15 each. Okay, those are maybe $18 if I do from empty to full, but I don't do that. I refill and only add 60, and I get up to a full weight. So I'm able to then utilize all the ink. And how do I get it out? Well, once you drill this hole, these two holes, just pop this off, pop this off. You have your empty bottle, put a funnel on it, and it just you hold it like this very carefully. It begins to pour out, and just empty it, completely empty it. And then put your cap back on it, and you're ready to go. Plug, plug. You don't have to rinse the inside. You could if you want to. But if I had then something that, for instance, if I have a set of 12 of these, well, what would I do with these? Would I toss them in the trash? Well, no, silly boy. These chips have never been used. So someone with a 2600 or a 2200, the earlier version with the Pro 1000 formulation, you just got some refillable cartridges. And yeah, if you're printing for your own self and you want to use Precision Colors inks, their third party version, which is outstanding, you buy large volumes and fill these cartridges up. At some point, that chip can be disabled. Isn't that something? So you end up with a set of absolutely top quality refillable cartridges, like nothing else you can buy. I wouldn't trust anything else. I would only do my own. There are the plugs. So I have a few others. Precision Colors at this point has, I don't know how many of these, a vast number of these. And I keep telling them, you can sell these, okay, to people with larger printers that have the ability to accept those big carts. Why wouldn't you not want to sell those? I don't understand why. Okay, so currently they are almost done with updating their website. So Mike Lee, for ages and ages and ages, was using a very antiquated style of web. So, and you all know what that looks like. It looks like this, and it's just very old style. So this has actually been added. I don't think they went ahead and changed too much. So this is the shopping cart. This is what you would see what you have ordered. Whoop, sorry about that. I need to be careful when I back off accidentally. One time I actually signed off of the live stream. That was not good. All right. So let's see how this is navigating now. But I don't think this is the final. This is still the old style. So these videos don't even exist anymore. So he needs to like completely remove that. I don't know whether they already have a design website, because he was asking me for me to provide them with a little statement about me, how I came about learning about precision colors, and what I thought about it, my link to my channel, uh, and other little bits of detail. And I told him to remove that because that's gone. That's from my hack channel. Is that doesn't exist anymore. And I think that was just my comparison, which is already uploaded, about the Precision Color Signature Edition inks for the Pro 100. But anyway, so yeah, this is all going to be changed. Um, we have the Bible on refilling this machine. So if you want to learn to do that, you don't want to listen to me explaining it, you don't have to do that. You don't have to put yourself to that torture. You go directly here. And it shows you the so-called sensor system as well. And I think Matt McNamara is going to be updating the sensor system as well. So this is one recommendation that I would suggest to everyone. Although Mike Lee did a beautiful job minus a mess, I need to like re-disconnect everything and make it pretty. Um, if you're going to be mounting the second set of six, and your cartridge in the front has basically it's not round, it's two flat faces. And why would I want to mount this sensor on the left side when it's going to be directed to the right? So I would do the last six and mount them to the right. The only problem is I drilled all my holes in the right side. So I have everything mounted on the left side. And so did they. So I would recommend that the last six colors, you drill the hole on the left side and mount the sensor on the right side. And then the first six backwards. Create the refilling hole on the right side and mount the sensor on the left side. So the ones on the left will have the sensors on the left, the ones on the right, sensor on the right. It just makes it neater. It makes it easier to create your cabling um, setup. So anyway, yeah. So I am waiting for their reply and the new link to the site. And once I do that, then we will Mike Cheney will add it to my app, and then you guys can use that, of course, to shop. I don't have any kind of affiliation with Precision Colors as far as the channel earning any kind of percentage. I don't want to put them through that. No. Okay, so expanded squeegee or squeezy offerings. Squeezy was a term we use because these type of cartridges were nice and soft. The bottles, that is. So it's very easy to squeeze ink into a cartridge that you had modified for refilling. So I think they're going to take all of this detail, incorporate it. Of course, they don't want to rewrite all of this. They just want to create a slightly different format for the more modern style for the channel itself. So 8550, they have a pigment ink set for it. XP 15,000. That ink set is really, really good. And the Pro 100. So the way it's normally set up right now is Canon, and then you got to go through what kind of a printer does uh, what kind of a set of color channels does your printer have? Two, four, two. I don't remember hardly. Printers were just two colors. Okay, but they did. They had like a yellow, magenta, cyan cartridge and one black one. This is the Mega type tank printers. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So if you're just curious, I want to know what the heck had five. Well, it would be all of these printers here. So in a way, this is not a bad layout per se. It's just not modern. Okay. So of course, the 8 series would be the early version. Do these printers even exist anymore? That's why I told Matt, you don't need to have any of this material available. You're going to sell one every 3 years, one ink set. This is a Pro 9000. This is what you want to deal with here. And this one as well, the Pro 200. So for 12 channels, that would be this one, PFA, the Pro 1, PGI 29 cartridges, and the Pro 1000 at this point. So I don't know whether the Ink Lab is creating a formulation for them for the the Pro 1100. Who knows? Who knows? So I would if you guys own a Pro 1100 and you're worried about third party inks, especially if you're selling work, um, pigment inks, they seem to last pretty much. The differences in longevity are so almost irrelevant because most of us will be gone before even, say, for ink owl inks for the Pro 1100 would begin to show any kind of fading effect. So is when you're talking about 200-year life expectancy of a print, well, we only live an average of say 70, 80. Some people live to 90 and 100. But no, if you start at age 60 to print, you only got, you know, 25 more years to go. In most cases, of course. I'm joking about it, but the truth is the truth. So you only really need, so much longevity. And most good third party pigment inks provide you 3, 4 times that level of longevity. And like I said, I joke about this all the time. My kids don't want anything I own. So they're not into that. So, nor do they really care that much about the art that I create and the prints that I create. They go wow and they go ooh and ah, but that's it. Now my oldest daughter, she has a lot of photos around the house, so she's a little bit different. But I don't think the other ones really care. And the same thing happens. We just lost one of our friends, and the husband's family. The wife passed away. The husband's family, who is a collector of, has held every position known to mankind, really way up there in the community. Okay, they have things that they value that they think are very valuable. No, they're not. Nobody cares. Nobody wants them, and they're going to end up dumping a lot of this stuff. Yeah, even charity companies don't want them because they mean they he has dinner plates that cost him like $40 each. Who's going to buy that? They offer him $3 a piece for it, and of course he says that's ridiculous. Well, you're not going to sell that really, and no one's going to buy it. It's old style. Nobody cares, even though it was valuable at the time. All right, enough of that. New printhead. Okay. How do you know you need a new printhead? Let's do one more thing and then we'll get off here. Um, Usually, what happens is, especially, well, if an epson does not clean, regardless of what you do, I just get rid of the printer and I have to buy a new one because installing a new printhead on an epson printer that's been around that long, you're going to have other mechanical issues anyway. So you might as well just start from fresh. And by that point, there's like 3 different models already came and replaced your old 15-year-old printer. So Canon, though, Canon has replaceable printers. So how do you determine? And they go bad. They get worn out as you use them because they're thermal. They are not meant to last. They're meant to wear themselves out. And your higher end printers, such as the Pro 1000 and other professional level printers, they have extra nozzles that are just kept on the side, on the sidelines. So as you're printing, and sometimes, let's say, if you don't print for a week or two, you're going to get this cleaning cycle initially. Well, you get the agitation, and then you get the cleaning cycle, and then it goes through this click, click, click. The printer is doing this. It's checking every single nozzle. And if it finds a bad one, it then disconnects it electronically and assigns another one, the spares, the redundant nozzles to that particular channel. You need a certain number of active nozzles. So you lose one, you then assign that job to the next nozzle that's in that bank. And eventually you run out of them, and that's it. It's a done deal. You replace the printhead. So, but how else do you know? So with a Canon printer, it's thermal, so the printheads are delicate. They're not sturdy monsters like Epson printers that you can actually attach a a syringe with a piece of tube on the spigot and pump fluid through it. You cannot do that with a Canon printer. It's impossible to do that. At least not someone at home. So you do the cleaning, and your cleaning, your nozzle check is still not perfect, and you do another cleaning, and it remains exactly the same. What was missing is still missing in the same position as you view the nozzle check. You soak under, on top of a paper towel folded with some solvent, and nothing happens. That's it. Replace the printhead. There's nothing much you can do about it. Um, Another weird effect that you get is where it'll be an electronic failure. It will not be a physical failure due to you run out of nozzles, or your nozzles are clogged and they're really stubborn. They will not dissolve no matter what you do. This error is where you see literally 50%, either the upper half or the lower half. Like on a Canon Pro 200, you will literally see the upper half lighter than the lower half, or completely missing, or vice versa, the lower half lighter than the upper half, or completely missing. That's an electronic failure. But the problem is it an electronic failure specifically inside the printhead, which if you then replace the printhead, it will disappear, or it's an electronic failure that was caused by your motherboard? If that is the case, then there's no way you know which is which case it is, and you replace it with a new one. Within a couple of weeks, it will zap it again, and you will end up with the same error. Um, so it's very difficult. So if that is the case, then you need a new printer. My Pro 100, after 14 and a half years of service, finally decided to die. I couldn't even revive it using a new printhead. The carriage itself, the sensors that connect to the chips contacts, were not operating normally, and so it was giving me all of this very non. It would flash on and off every once in a while, and then go away, and yeah, it was very unreliable. Let's just say. So it went to the dump. Actually, no, it's still here. It's right there. I got the old Pro 10, which is dead, on top of it. And that's got to go to the dump. And of course, I had two others, and it's right there underneath all that stuff. But now I also have a Pro 200, thanks to Mr. What does he go by? I want to use his name. It's Rick Johnson, but, or is it the other guy that goes by? Yeah, Mighty Mouse, Sir Mighty Mouse, Mighty Moose, I mean. So he's the guy that has the website, not the website, the eBay store, with a bunch of different things that you need. Basically, you need him. If you have Canon printers and Epson printers, for which he has, for example, these printers allow you to replace the wasting containers. He's got every material you need to actually refurbish your own wasting tanks. Imagine that. So you don't have to dump these ridiculous pieces of trash into your county's, landfill, and you can produce stuff like this. Yeah, amazing. I think there's one more sheet of paper in there. And before I go, let me go ahead and I'll leave you with one last print. I got to find something that's going to be really colorful. I want to really push it. I want to really push it this time. So let's see what we can put on there. I'm going to use my monitor here. So just put up with me a second here while I look for something really, really little over the top. I know what I will do. Hang on one second. I have a drive that is only for photos. And I'm going to go in there and look. If I could find it. Okay, so this PC local drive, and then I got to look for my photo drive. Here it is. This is going to take a bit to load because it's not the fastest drive in the world. So give me a couple seconds here. Maybe a little bit more than that. Let that load up. And I think that's where I have all the goodies. Here we go. So we'll let this cache, whatever. While it's doing that, I cannot slide it over to the other monitor. So, all right, here we go. I'm just going to scroll through here. So you could use something like this to test the accuracy of your yellows. Of course, just print the standard image. Of course, that would be the test I would recommend you do. But I can tell already how good this is going to look like. So let me just scroll through here and see what kind of possibilities we can come up with. Oh, look at baby Nathan right there. How cute. This is Puerto Rico. I did a bunch of these types of images for Nathan when he was little. Don't freeze up on me, please. Okay, thank you. All right, so that looks, that's a poster, forget it. That's a poster. This is an image by a company. I don't know who it was, a paper company. This is good. You can print this and use it as a purge type sheet where you actually want to just trigger some black and grays and magenta, yellow, cyan, but do it with zero color management. It will look awful, but because it'll be printed raw, but that way it will use the actual colors and not just try to mix them to make them look correct. This is very reminds me of the stuff in my other folder. Boy, let's see. Let me quickly move down here. I think I may have better luck here. Okay, so here we have some pretty bright stuff. So maybe we'll do a couple of 5x7s. So in order to do that, you're going to click on 5x7. And am I on the correct printer? I certainly hope so. Yep, everything is still the same. So let's do this. And I want something with a lot of color. Whoa. Yeah, that would be something. I did that at a car show. But I want something with a multitude of different colors. I don't know, maybe. Oh, how about that? I want some blues though. Okay, here we go. An abstract. like that. And let's see what the Pro 200 can do with that. So again, it's just everything is set. So it's just a matter of clicking on print. Let that baby load. And then we'll compare it to the screen. I have to do that visually here. Um, one thing that I find is when printing on the same thing happens with the 8550. If I print on matte, because it's actually using a lower dot per inch. By dot per inch, I mean not pixel per inch, but the print resolution, the number of dots that the printer generates. Nothing to do with pixels, it's just the dots that it generates. For matte paper is a lower number than for glossy. Glossy papers have less dot spread or dot gain, so you're able to cram more tiny little dots of ink or droplets of ink than you could on matte paper. Matte paper spreads more, so you have to reduce the number of dots so you don't begin to blend, and then you literally get a muddy looking result rather than a very sharp looking print. So that's handled automatically for you. The reason I brought that up is because when you print on glossy, it takes like twice as long to finish printing. Yeah. By the way, last week my 4200 was taking forever to print. I was using Wi-Fi. I plugged in the USB earlier before the stream began and quick print. So I don't understand why that printer, I can print Wi-Fi to this printer and it's fine. And the 4200 is right behind it. So shouldn't be much difference, right? But yeah, it's just slow. One pass per 30 seconds. Instead of it's and wait for the next bit of information to trickle in and wait for the next. Yeah, it took literally hours to print a sublimation chart, so or image. Anybody have any questions about anything? um as soon as you hear that Print Prism 180 comes out, download it, install it, give it a try and see. I would love to compare 70 to 80 and see what it is that he's accomplishing. I think he mentioned you, Richard, something you may have suggested to him. So also he wanted to add adjustments for maybe a slightly more saturated image, in other words. And I thought, oh, no, 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 no. If I want to oversaturate, I'll do it manually. I don't need an auto enhancement. So I don't know whether that was one of the choices he was going to add. But Precision Colors did something that I never utilized. But if you, maybe you can't even check this anymore, but I remember, maybe you can. The Pro 100, when you went to the ICC profile download folder, they gave you the D50 profile, which is a standard one, and then one or two or three more for different types of illuminants. So if you had a certain Kelvin temperature light source, you would use that profile, and it would do the adjustment automatically for you. So when you view it on the regular lights, it looks a little off, but when you view it under that particular color temperature light source, it would look perfect. I don't need that. Okay. I'll make sure I illuminate my prints with the correct light source. You see, the correct light and standard light temperature. Right. He already has a increase in shadow detail option and a warm tone option. Again, no, I want to impart my own warm tone and my own increase of shadow details if I really want them. Okay. I want to be the one that does that. I think our print is done. And again, like I shouldn't have even guessed. Voila. Oh my gosh. It's ridiculous. So I'm falling in love with the Pro 200 and those inks from Precision Colors. Absolutely. Now, this particular image right here is one that I use specifically. One individual person told me, um, I would like to send you some samples of my P900 because I said, of course, the Pro 100 is dye ink. The Pro 1000 is pigment but has a chroma optimizer, and the 1100 has chroma optimizer. And those printers will eliminate this problem. You see right here that there's a little sliver right here, that little bit of candle burning, that is pure white. Absolutely. 255 over the cliff. Okay. So is right there. There's two little slivers right there. I don't know if you can see them at all. I can see them clearly. They go from yellow to white. My camera sucks. Right here as well. This is white. When you print them on say, the P800 on a semi-glossy or glossy paper, wherever there's ink, it's going to look pretty glossy, but a different level of gloss than the border. The border level of gloss will be different. Will be whatever that gloss is. Where you apply dark areas will be glossier than the actual border. Okay. And on areas where there's no ink, such as those pure whites, no ink got applied, is going to maintain the original gloss of that paper is, whatever that gloss happens to be. You have gloss differential, and it's visible. You do this, and you see glossy and slightly more matte area because the inks apply more gloss, especially in high density areas like that. So yeah, it's bothersome. That's why Canon has gloss enhancer or chrome optimizer, and printers like the older R2000 and the newer P400, they have a gloss optimizer, and it applies an even coat of gloss, and even those areas, like even the borders, get glossier. Okay, so it evens up the whole spectrum of color. Now here, on the other hand, maybe there's no, is there? Yeah, there's maybe here, there's a few areas here, but I could adjust that. When I do that in QImage, where I set the +5 and -5, it adds a little bit of density to what would normally be pure white. It adds a little bit of density. So that receives a little bit of ink. So the sense of gloss differential sort of minimizes. Okay. That way you do not end up with a pure white anywhere in that image. So when you print it, even with a printer with no gloss enhancer, you will get a more even distribution of ink. And in other words, the gloss that the ink reflects back to you will be even. You will not see these little bare areas that look duller than the actual areas with ink. It's really bothersome. I don't like it. Okay, that's why I love printing on the Pro 1000 and with dye ink. And if I print with pigment ink, I print on matte paper or some kind of art paper without any shine to it or, at all. So that is one of the things that I love. So if you're going to print on the P800, the P900, I'm not trying to be a jerk to those of you who own it. Make sure your images do not have any pure white areas. Okay, and keep your borders minimal, especially on glossy papers. Glossy papers will show the difference more pronounced than any other type of paper. Maybe a luster or burrito paper with a slight bit of gloss, it'll be very even. You won't even notice it. But just make sure that you don't have any kind of white or any kind of pure black. Okay. Um, Pure blacks will receive the maximum amount of ink, and it'll be the glossiest areas of your image. And especially if you're using third-party inks, the effect is even more pronounced with third-party inks. Okay. But that is really beautiful. My gosh. Thank you, Rick. That was a beautiful gift you gave me. And I know I've been not having the time to show it off, but uh, that printer is fantastic. I don't know what they did to it. Um, if I remember correctly, it was just a matter of adjusting the output quality of the inks, the accuracy of the inks, which Precision Colors did with their signature edition inkset anyway. So when they made the signature edition inkset to the Pro 200, I thought, what are you going to do? I mean, does this match OEM? We don't know. I've never been able to have had the opportunity or pleasure to compare a perfectly nothing but OEM from the Pro 200 and then compare it to Signature Edition. The only comparison I have is this one with Signature Edition inks, and I did a comparison against the Pro 100. Of course, the Pro 200 won. The Pro 200 won, you know, without an issue. Okay, so yeah, thank you, sir. So the the Pro 100 with a custom profile produces better results, and OEM ink produces better results than than the same printer with OEM inks and the OEM profile. Period. I proved that years ago. And then when I switched over to the first generation of inks from Precision Colors, I immediately saw the differences, and I thought it was just enhancements, and I wasn't too sold on the idea at the time. But then years later, and of course, Mike told me, no, 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 I did this all on purpose. This is the original links are not that accurate. They fail in this manner, and so forth. So yeah, he's the one that did this. And then when the Pro 200 was being advertised, pre-shipping time, right about the time where it was beginning to be released here, they showed the same thing that I experienced, the standard image of strawberries. The Pro 100 strawberries were slightly orange. The Pro 200 strawberries were red. Okay, and that's what we saw between OEM ink results of the strawberries and Precision Color Signature Edition ink results. Those results matched the Pro 200 results. So I do seriously believe they were aware of that, and so they had to do something about it. That's why. Otherwise, why did they need a Pro 200? Really, right? Is a Pro 200 better mechanically? I don't know. I assume it is. I think it has a professional bar on it in the front. So, and we make jokes about that. Oh, that's because it smells better, more professional. So, but anyway, yeah. So let's see. Richard Bender says, I suggested user controls of font and background colors and a pulsing of X boxes in the scan target plus a couple of more. Okay, so that's going to be some user interface changes, not necessarily output quality changes. Good. If that's what he did, then yeah, we just need to see those the text, all of the little instructions and things like that a little bit clearer. Maybe, I don't know, slightly more bold. Maybe you can do like a black stroke around the letters. I do that all the time, and it makes it stand out when I'm doing a thumbnail or something. Yeah. So let me just take a quick look again in Pin Prism here and see if that is what you're. I'm gonna give it a closer look to it and see where would someone with eyes like me, what would I change? Why would I want to see change? And you guys can look at this at the same time with me. And maybe I know Mike is gonna watch this later. So what we have now currently is I would assume those are maybe slightly larger font makes it pop a little bit more, maybe a slightly darker background. So you have a bigger difference between the text and the background, make it stand out a little bit more. So new profile, project, new profile, scanner sources. This represents the scanners that I have. And this represents the scanners that, let me see, I think this is the name of the scanner. This is the location of the scan. These are the scanner types that are supported. They're all being calibrated. This is the window where the profile will be sent to, the actual folder that is. And then this is where the scans that you create are stored. So all you got to do is click here, create that profile. And let's see, I mean, I don't want to do any more right now. These are let me show you something real quick because I thought that the images that I got from, that I was able to download from the photography site that created Nathan's class pictures, it looks a little bluish to me. Although the skin tones look okay, but I think the overall look looks a little bluish to me. And I didn't really want to change anything. So when I printed these without any kind of editing, it came out just like it, just like the original images. But I would like to add a little bit of warmth to this. I don't think it's, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking at this wrong. You guys can tell me. Now this is the metallic print. And that came out super good. It's the luster metallic that Steve Grobel provided me, that paper. And it's proven to be really great for even for portraiture. So the parents and grandparents place a few orders, a little bit of marks on the proof sheet. I delivered them this past week, and they love them. Let me just go over some of these results that we've had created here. Look at this. I think this is Richards. And this is on a glossy type 2 Canon paper. Not bad. This is not their top paper, by the way. Came out beautiful. So I do have a Strathmore. This is a brand new one, 170, that I did on the Strathmore paper, the linen paper. And then I did one with the Aquarella paper from Canson. It's a little bit duller. You can immediately see the difference between the two. This is the Canson. This is a little bit stronger colors than this one. But theoretically, once you then scan this, it will compensate for that. At least that's the way I understand it. So I have over 30 of these that I would like to redo, but and see, I don't like this old style where I had to trim off and I had to write in the back. I prefer the new version with the wider black border that you don't have to trim. So, and if you look at all of these, they look pretty much identical, but of course there are differences in them. So keep your scans, keep your scans in your computer folder where they reside, and that way you can always come back to them and redo them if need be. Yeah, I'm going to redo this. I think I have a more suitable image for that. But anyway, at this point, I think that's going to be it. Let me go ahead and load. I showed you guys that ink fade image last week, I believe. Now that is really, if you just have one printer and like only print a couple of types of paper. I remember seeing an actual report on the Pro 1000 using, I believe it was the Canon Pro Luster paper compared to Red River Palo Duro soft gloss or etching, I think it was. And this is what OEM inks. And the difference was drastic in fading. The one on the Pro Luster faded like after 11 megalux of light exposure, began to fade. And you can actually measure the changes compared to one in dark storage. So remember, I show you that those strips. Let me see if I have it on my desktop. Yeah, I do. For those of you who are into, you know, not complaining but worried about ink fade, I'm going to put this on my Facebook group. If you remember, just download it and you can print this, then cut it at the line right here. And this has it. It talks about megalux, but don't worry about that. Just use your own type of system. Put it on whatever window gets the most light, and then after say this is megalux, 50 megalux, 100 megalux, just do days, 20 days, 50 days, 100 days, and 200 days, and then keep this one inside a box. And that way this one does not receive any light. Or put it inside a Ziploc bag, some kind of bag that you can seal, and then keep it in the dark. And that way it doesn't get any ozone, it doesn't get any light. And then after each period of time, so after the first 20 days, you remove this one from the window, go ahead and check this in your room with no, take it out and you can actually view it through the plastic envelope and see if there's any difference in fading. And then 50 days later, do this one. 100 days later, do that one. And of course, that kind of test is going to be the worst thing you can do to your prints. Putting them in your south facing window. You would never do that where you're normally mounted on the wall type stuff. My stuff lasts forever in this house. The house is dark. It's located at a weird angle so that it doesn't really get any kind of light. I need to turn lamps on inside to be able to see. Yeah. So inside my house on our walls, it's not gonna fade ever. It's gonna last forever. Um, yeah. But that's how you do that, and then you check each period. So that would be 20, 50, 100, 200. So that would be, well, you can do like 25 days and then 50 days and so on. And each one will be 2x amount of light or exposure to whatever you're dealing with. I wouldn't even attach it to the window because that would prevent ozone from getting in. Just hang it from something so that it faces your window. That way it gets air exposure and you get light exposure at the same time. And then take it down, trim off the 20 day one or 25 day one, and check it against the dark storage one. Then 50 days later or 25 more days later, do the next one in 50 days and then 100 days. That way. And you check and you will see differences. You will see how good your inks really are under normal conditions, not these laboratory, I call it what do they call it? The type of aging? It's actually fake, basically, um, where it's not really aging for 200 years, but the equivalent of. Um, that way, you really get a world more realistic um, test to see how your prints would fade in your own environment. Um, that doesn't mean they'll be the same in someone else's environment. Okay, so that's it. That I've been doing all sorts of weird things through my last, what is it, 20, has it been 25 years? Yeah, I got my first printer in 99. Um, Last century. That sounds ominous. Um, so yeah, and we've come a long way, believe me. We really, really have. So let me load this. So anyway, if you guys have any further questions, just ask away. I will stay. Yeah, accelerating aging. That's it. Accelerated aging. That is the term. So let me load this other slideshow. Turn the volume down so I can open it and then stop it. Okay. All right. I got everything set up. So again, this week I'm going to be uploading some previous videos. I have to pick up Nathan on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. So maybe while I am there, if Mike contacts me tonight or tomorrow, then by Monday I will go ahead and announce that. I will probably make a video that night and so upload it when I get home from picking up the boy. And and I don't want. I've been offered, oh, you don't have to come pick him up. No, no, I want to pick him up. We have a thing. Okay, we have a thing since he was a month old. Okay, so there's no way I'm going to stop that. So next Sunday, let me see what today. Next Sunday, yeah, next Sunday it'll be okay. Then the following Sunday, I think Harold, Sunday I'll be able to do the live stream because you guys are flying out that day, right? I don't want to move it to Saturday because I'm going to be out all day with you guys. Yeah. So Harold, let me know that right now. The Sunday you guys fly out back home, um, it's okay. I can have it. I could do the live stream that Sunday. Okay. Because I know you guys are going to be busy packing up and leaving. And I got some things to give you as well to take back. Right. So I just looking at my calendar to make sure that everything is honky dory. And then on the 31st, I have that function. So that's going to be another Saturday instead of Sunday. Yeah. So the weekend you leave, we'll have a Sunday because you guys are leaving that afternoon. So I'll say goodbye to you guys the day before. Um, on the way back from our visits to Gettysburg, we'll stop by the Mooney Mansion and we'll say bye bye or hello, unless you meet them earlier, to Nathan, my daughter, my son, and my son in law, and of course, my wife. And then you'll drop us off at our house. And from our home is just up the street, make a right, and make a right. And that becomes Connecticut Avenue all the way down to your hotel. All right. We'll talk about that later. All right. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out with me on an odd day for a live stream Saturday. And we'll see you the next week. I think that should be a Sunday. If not, I will let you guys know before that on a video. All right. Thank you so much. Bye bye, everybody. Let me play this.